Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please make sure you have the correct area code.
Area code? But it's a local call.
Last week we asked for your opinion on what colour to paint Kevin's engine bay, and the winner was Donkey's Cap Designs, who suggested we painted a purple or a green to contrast with the black and alloy parts within the engine bay. So please send us an email at info@theskidfactory.com. The Instagram giveaway, you have to check Instagram, jump over, check your DMs, and I may have sent you a DM asking for your postage details. Thank you for everyone for entering the competition. Don't forget, if you like what you see, subscribe and share it with your mates so they can see some awesome content too. Cheers.
Welcome back to the Skid Factory. We're back working on Kevin again this week. Kevin's being a bit of a pain in the ass, but you get that with a project car. And because he's got a human name, it feels much more personal when you tell him that he's a dickhead. So we're persisting with him. Last week we did the majority of the plumbing for fuel and water and air plumbing for wastegates and whatnot. We also added all the electrical sensors and stuff like that that we needed to be there, because this week we're going to start on the wiring. For the wiring, we've actually going to bring in some experts to do a part of it. So we've got the boys from Whiteys Wiring here with us. This is Whitey, Sam White, the boss man, and we've got Bodie and young Sam as well. This is the crew. These guys are from down Redcliffe way, so not too far away from us. And I know how to wire stuff, but I'm self-taught, same as a lot of things that I do. And we thought it'd be cool to get some actual pros in to show us how it's done and why it's done certain ways, and let you guys know what the sort of there's various ways and cost levels that you can expect to pay for different types of wiring. So Sam's going to tell us all about that.
Yeah, so we're doing a club level harness for the engine bay from the firewall forward for the boys. We're using a military grade wiring because we can get small wires that can still handle high current. They're chemical resistant. Gets a real neat job though, so it's going to be perfect for Kevin's engine bay. It's not MILSPEC. People are probably going to comment on a lot of the ways that we do things, but we've been doing many looms like this for years now.
So you would have seen this MILSPEC. This is a bit like purge welding and all the other things that you see on Instagram and people get really excited about, is concentrically twisting wiring harnesses and stuff like that. That is legitimately like very high-end motorsport stuff, and Kevin is not a high-end motorsport vehicle. He's just a dickhead, so he's getting what he describes as a club spec, which just means sort of motorsport, but not Formula One, not big dollar stuff. So we're going to have a look at how the boys are doing it. They've done sort of one harness. It's going to be sort of split into two separate bits. We've got two large multi-pin plugs coming out of the firewall, so it's basically we can unclip the engine loom and sort of pull the engine out when the rods leave it without having to unplug everything. And then on the other side of the firewall, it will then go into the Nexus R5 from there. So we've got sort of good quality, chemical resistant, blah blah blah, fire resistant to a point stuff on the outside where it needs it, and on the other side it's just your generic normal wire. So the wiring that's on the outside is commonly called Tefcell, which I think is actually a brand, isn't it? So it's got Teflon sheathing on it instead of PVC, so it's much stronger, more resistant, and the wire inside is also better. But it also makes it harder to work on. So these guys have got a lot of very specific equipment that allows them to work with this sort of wire. So we'll have a bit of a look at that as well. When the boys got here this morning, they pretty much got stuck straight into the process, and clearly they have done this a lot and know exactly what needs to be done. So I've just been observing, so I'm going to say what I have seen, and then these guys are going to correct me and tell me that I'm wrong. Young Sam got in there and he has what looks to me like a dressmaker's tape.
It's a tailor's tape.
Tailor's tape. Oh, sorry, tailors. That's a bit more manly, mate. And taking measurements. So obviously, the first thing the guys have got to establish is junction points. So certain wires need to exit the loom at certain points to reach whatever sensor is or injector or whatever is in that area. This is the end where the circular connector goes into the firewall, and then it goes down underneath the inlet manifold, and this is our first junction point here. There we've got knock sensor.
Knock sensor,
starter. And then it moves along to obviously a big branch of wires there with a lot of stuff coming out. Another knock sensor. There's a bunch of sensors and whatnot poking around there for water temperature and other things. And then it heads off and again branches off further over on the other side of the engine, where the crank angle sensor, and there's a lot of other things there as well. So that's one of the looms. There's another loom that I believe is going to be used mainly for injection and ignition
and gearbox
and the stuff underneath the car in the transmission there. So this is, I mean, it's probably nothing for you guys, but it's a fair bit of more sensors than I've ever put on an engine. So
yeah, it's a lot.
So well, every one of those sensors got to be wired up, so it does take a fair bit of pins in the firewall especially. So we've got 2 plugs. How many pins we got in total?
47 each, so 94, yeah.
Sweet. And that's going to be enough? Or
Yeah, it's...
are we just going to have like another thing poking through the firewall with a bomb terminal on it?
That's more than enough for this one.
So spare wires.
Yeah,
Sam,
spares.
the other day when Sam was here checking it out, he said that you normally load some spares up underneath, hidden up on the manifold or something like that. So when you inevitably go, oh, I forgot about that one sensor, or I need another one, you just usually have a spare one with, power, ground, sensor ground, 5 volt, whatever, the stuff.
Is that what you use for the pie warmer? Is that where you wire in?
Nah, not enough amps, bro.
Oh, okay. My bad.
You can see Sam's using this tape that almost looks like sticky tape, but it's actually a special type of tape that you use with this sort of wiring.
Yeah, generally it's more motorsports grade. It just protects the wire when we're using heat shrink on top of the wire if we are. But it's just a good tape to hold the wires together, and it's thin and sticky.
Yeah.
Doesn't unravel.
And what's that called?
Capped on tape.
Capped on tape. I'm the captain now.
And what are those fancy heat shrinks that?
So they're a solder sleeve for terminating the shield inside the cam, crank and knock sensor wiring. It's just the best way to terminate the shield to put it back to sensor ground.
Bodie's just finished putting together the injector subloom. As you can see, we've got 12 injectors, so in our case the injectors are actually the same size injector, so we don't need to differentiate between the two until we get to the ECU, where we will. So there's a couple of sublooms in the engine loom, one for the injectors and there's another one for the PRP coil pack. So can you tell me, Whitey, why you use sublooms for certain things?
Mostly for upgrades, especially if you guys change injectors later on down the track. We can just manufacture a whole new harness with the change in injector plugs to suit, but also like for easiness, because to put 12 injectors off a breakout into the main harness would be a real pain in the arse. Yeah. A couple of good reasons, but yeah, mostly for upgrade sake.
Cool. All right, so these guys are almost finished this harness. Bodie's going to grab the end of it where it goes through the firewall and terminate it. They've got a little workflow thing going on here. This is not necessarily how they do it at work. It's usually a one-man job, but in this case, all the tools are next to one guy and all the other tools and then all the other tools, so that's how we're going to do it. They're going to start on the next harness and Woody's going to record that for you, see how it works. Mad dad joke. So the loom's nearing completion. We're just fitting up these injectors, or the work experience kid Alex is, so we can plug the loom in and make sure it's all neat. So it's been quite a quick process with 3 pros on the case, which is pretty cool. These are Golby's injector set that we got. There's 12 of them. We got the dynamic matched injectors from Golby, so when you buy Bosch injectors, you'll see a lot of them have a coloured dot on them. Bosch MotorSport Australia, who supplies the injectors, does supply them as a matched batch, but you can then, Golby's then goes to the trouble if you pay extra to dynamically match them, which means they're matching them through different millisecond rates and different pressure rates. So that's what this little chart's for, and then they're basically grouped together so you get a set that's as close as possible. So it's pretty cool. So be aware that there's more than one type of matched set, as it were. So the more your engine's worth, probably the more money you need to spend on getting them batched together properly.
What are you doing next week, Alex? You want to come back? I got some more jobs for you.
Anytime, mate, as long as you got some tool pro kicking about the shed, I'll be here. Am I hindering you?
Yeah, I think we're just having a... Turns out that 12 injectors is a lot of injectors.
I thought you said we weren't doing any concentrically twisted wires in this build.
Well, we got to do a little bit, don't we? So if we were to do proper job, the next layer would start twisting the opposite way over the top. So effectively when they bend, they're all the same length all the time.
Ah, okay. Only the best for Kevin, huh?
Yeah.
Seemed like a good idea.
What do you got there?
It's as hot as it looks. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My vibe is out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What? We're missing one.
Dude, 6 times 2 is 12.
Yeah, but it's not working with my rhythm, which I don't have a lot of, clearly. We didn't actually mention it earlier on, but we're obviously using a Haltech ECU. We're using a Nexus R5, so this is going to control the whole car as well as the engine. we've obviously got a lot more work to do as far as the wiring from this to these connectors and also the rest of the car, but we're gonna take that on as normal. What we really wanted to do here is to show you, you guys how there is different ways of doing wiring, and this is probably what I mean, we obviously don't use Teflon wire and stuff like that, so it's a bit more upmarket than what we normally use. It's the way the guys at Whiteys prefer to do things, and they've got their reasons for that, and it's good to see how a professional goes about the process, because it's not the same way I do it, because I'm self-taught and I've probably taught myself the wrong way. So yeah, a few ways of going about it.
Definitely.
Whitey's filled me in. I don't know if he wants to fill you in on it, but it's all about time management, really, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. Trying to be efficient and get it done to high standards still, yeah.
So I think you said was something like 120 meters of.
Yeah, haven't
wire?
calculated, but there'd be at least over 100 meters easy in this harness.
Okay.
Just to the firewall connector.
Nice.
So from the firewall connector, from the firewall connector, you go down into the Nexus, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So the ECU, well, the Nexus it'll be mounted very close to it. So we'll probably only use like a meter of wire, maybe out of here from the specific pins that we're going to use, which is not much of this. This thing's pretty heavy on the outputs. So the engine side of things is actually not that. I mean, it's part of it, but it's not. When you're talking about this thing, it's not all of it. We've got a lot of other stuff that's got to be wired up. You know, even headlights and that sort of thing. So there's tons of ways you can do it. This thing's pretty flexible in how you can drive things. So every time we wire one of these, it's probably going to be a bit different, because for a start, I'm learning what you can do with it, and secondly, I'm learning all the time because self-taught. So it's great having these guys here showing us how they do it, and then I will probably take on a lot of those things that I've observed today and sort of try and work it into the way I do things in the future. So the guys are in what they call North Brisbane, that area, but yeah, if you want to check them out on social media and all that stuff.
Yeah. What am I linking? Put up your personal phone number down there first?
No, definitely not. No. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram, all the general socials. So yeah.
You also got a YouTube
channel
as well?
We've got a YouTube channel that we're slowly finding content to put on it. So yeah.
Cool. So if you want a decent job, not some hack job like we do, then go see Whitey.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Whitey.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
The boys at Whitey's have given us a massive head start by doing the engine bay wiring for us, and also the quality of it is probably a lot better than what we could do. So thanks to those guys.
I'd say probably. It is a lot.
Well, yeah, okay. Probably means is. So there's still a lot of work to do with the wiring to do the rest of the car. We've got a whole bunch of other sensors that are not around the engine but are still required for this car to operate the best it can as a race car. So to start with, we've got the thermocouple amplifier box. So they're K-type thermocouples that go into the exhaust manifold. We welded the little fittings in there that retain them. That we will put inside the car because it's probably the best place for it, and keep it out of the engine bay. These leads are very long, so we can put it wherever we want, basically. You can shorten these things, but they're really hard to work with, so prefer not to. That's why you'll normally see them rolled up. All different lengths, and it looks messy but they're really actually quite difficult to work with because of the way the wire is built, and this plug is very specific to the way that the thing operates. It's not just a weird looking terminal. So we've got 6 of those. This is a TCA8, so they come with 4 and 8, I think. You can use the other 2 for, you can use them for intake temperature and stuff like that. That's definitely doable. But the reaction time of them may not be appropriate, so we're just using normal sensors for that. Ride height is a big thing with the race car. So obviously when you've got a trans brake and lots of power, that ride height is going to vary a lot from releasing the trans brake button front of the car comes up, the back squats, and then things change all the way through, and you want them to do that in a certain manner. So having data from a ride height sensor can be very helpful if you know how to interpret the data, of course, which I'm not saying we do yet, but if you don't have the data, you can't interpret it. So on the front, we've got a laser ride height sensor. So that basically is shooting a laser at the ground, and you just sort of anchor it in the car in an appropriate spot. It does give you sort of a guide about where to put it, and that will give data like a voltage back to the ECU that is sort of you then sort of program it to what's the appropriate height or whatever it is. So
It sounds technical, Al.
this is the car not doing a wheelie. This is the car doing a wheelie, and this is the car nearly crashing into a wall. Yeah. On the rear, it's a little bit simpler. This is basically a shock height sensor. It's a linear position. It's basically the big brother of what we use for the transmission position. So it's just a giant version of that. So that's 5 volts, that's 0 volts, and then you interpolate that data in between for your shock height in the rear. So as the car either squats or separates from 0, that's going to give you that data. So we need to know wheel speed at the rear. Obviously, the 2 rear tyres are always going to be operating at the same speed because they've got a giant 40 spline axle on either side, and there's no differential. So that's just a collar that goes on your pinion. So it's basically just called a drive shaft sensor. There's a sensor on that. There's some permanent magnets here, and you can buy them from Haltech in multiple different sizes, because there's a few different pinion sizes for various levels of 9-inch diff, which means nothing. So that's the right one for our application. We've got a few other things that need to go in the car as well, stuff like the throttle pedal. That's sort of held up at the moment because we don't have the seats that we want, and we don't have them mounted. So all that stuff's going to be mounted in a way that it's going to work for us, our body heights, whatever. So we can't really put them in, and we're going to move that over to Matt to do, because he's got all the equipment to make seat brackets and that sort of stuff. Once we get the seats, we're still trying to decide between the like the aluminium sheet type seats or something more comfortable, but we'll argue about that a bit more when the time comes. I've been storing this away in the appropriate spot for a bit because we're going to use it as a template for, this is the dash surround inside so you would have used to have had your, AM radio here and a speedo with no tacho there.
What about a clock? Is that a clock?
Maybe a clock, but it probably didn't work. Actually, I think these had a speed alert.
Didn't they have
that beeped at you when you sped?
Isn't there a radial tune suspension?
Yeah, it would have had a radial tune suspension because everyone needed to know that in 1993. Just in case you got cross flows on your VR Commodore. So this used to be the go-to for every race car. The monster tacho, the temp gauge and the oil pressure, none of which you could actually see when you're racing your really fast car because you're too busy trying to stop it from crashing into a wall. So that stuff it's just not relevant, particularly to a car that's got fuel injection or like aftermarket EFI. This is what you need for stuff like that. This does everything. This is one of the best things that Haltech's ever made. You can program these things to do so much. You can see whatever you want. You can put extra inputs in the back of them as well. They're the best thing. And actually, maybe this is the best thing ever.
No, hang on. Correct you again. The Nexus R5 and R3.
Well, obviously the ECU is required, but these things are so good for being able to make it so easy to do things. It's CAN-based, which a few years ago everyone hated CAN because no one understood how it works.
Wait.
Now you just plug all your Haltech in the CAN, and then look, this button does whatever I want.
What about? Come on, as if this looks good here, bro. Look at this.
The only thing CAN-based about this is this piece of alloy was made out of an aluminium can, recycled. Yes. This was Ethel for sure. He's a carpenter. I'm a carpenter.
Technology.
Maybe we should have special guest Chris Ethel on the show.
Call us, Chris. Come down and help us out. Maybe he can polish it when we're done.
Stop being a hater. I'm going to take that wing off if you don't come. Mine out of the gutter.
You know I'm going to say it.
What?
It's crooked.
It's not.
It is.
The dash is crooked.
You're crooked. Can't you just pull it out of the box?
I can see the dash. I can see the keypad. Beep beep boop beep boop 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 beep. Beep 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 boop 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 beep beep. That's what I'm talking about.
Where did you imagine this was going to go?
Right about there somewhere.
Like this, just hovering? Do you want to display
Next
this?
eye.
Do you want to like maybe make a bracket? And what about the wideband? Does that have to come in here too?
There's no wideband, it's in the ECU.
Oh yeah.
Nexus, bra.
Nexus.
Yeah, doggy.
Brah.
Could one say that we've now got an energy polarizer fitted to our diff with all those magnets?
Magnetic collar, you say? Sounds like something Brocky might have been into, actually. That's the speed sensor collar mount. I've just got to clamp up the collar in the right spot. There is obviously an air gap specification for these, but in reality we've got a permanent magnet here and that's a hall sensor, so you can get away with quite a bit of gap on them. So we'll nip all that up, ready to go. Needs a plug on the end of it, obviously. We'll put up through the floor there somewhere. One more job ticked off the list. I've got a couple of more things to do up here with just some basic mounting stuff like this, and then we can we're probably going to drag it off down the road to Matt's again. And
Well, we got a fancy tail shaft, but we have to cut the floor out now to fit
the
it.
floor is, you know, it is pretty girthy though, you can imagine. Poor old Kevo copping all that girth. So we're going to give it a bit of clearance, or Matt is, and do a couple little things as well that we are sort of, well, to be honest, we're just getting a bit sick of working on Kevo. I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's just been quite frustrating for me, and we really just want to go and do something else for a bit and come back to Kevo later.
That's why we haven't set a deadline, Alan.
Which is I've said this many times before, if you're not enjoying working on the car, just don't. Like, it's just going to ruin it for you. So I'm going to put Kevo aside for a bit, try to regain some love, probably accumulate some more parts, and then get back into it once we've got some matte fab tail shaft girth clearance and whatnot. So you'll see Kevo a bit later, I'd reckon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with us whinging about Kevo. We'll get there in the end. Just little bites. footy. Little bites.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Oh, what about that shirt you're wearing too?
What about it?
Well,
Is it a Kevo shirt?
yeah.
Yeah. But you can buy these.
Cool.
They're good.
Sweet. How good?
Very good. I think this might be my second one because I burnt holes in the first one. Welding.
Common problem when you're in the shed.
So they're not weld proof, but they're resistant.
Wait, what is it? Trying to move what?
Gotta make a move to a town that's right for me.
Alright, well I'm staying put because I'm in a good town.
Beep, 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 boop.
Where's the sensor?
In my pocket.
Oh.
Yeah, Whitey. Yeah. Yeah, man, I just got this new phone. It's like a retro thing, like from the 80s. Like a bag phone, yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I just need a Trans Am. Yeah, anyway, reckon you can give us a hand with some wiring? Yeah. Righto. We'll see you soon. Yeah.
Thanks, legends. Appreciate your time.
Anytime.
Do you want to take some Tessa tape with you home? Do you guys?
Yeah, cool. As long as it's ferry. Yeah. As long as it's the ferry stuff, yeah. We'll just start wrapping it into each build we do.
Do you want to tell the story that's how Whitey's kind of here? Because we joked about it.
Whitey is a strong hatred of furry Tessa tape, and I mocked him for it. And then years later, I had to pull apart that very same wiring loom, and here we are. It was really, really nasty, and now I understand what he was talking about. So
Maybe we can frame some for you as a thanks.
What was that?
We'll frame some for you. With
no.
a Skid Factory sticker in the
send him a
background.
box of fluffy tape.
What is it?
It's a
dinosaur.
It's like a
door lock.
Tyrannopenis Rex or something.
How?
You want to put it on the thing, bro?
Hey?
Put it on the...
No, it's better. My wrists are really bad today, that's all. I'm just...
Busy night.
Oh, boom!
Thanks for watching.
You could have been like...